Excellent. Well, thank you guys. Good morning. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day today. And first off, I really want to congratulate all the startups on your new business venture. May your business grow and truly bring you prosperity. And best wishes definitely to you all. So the overall topic is cybersecurity. I think we're hearing a lot on the aspects of cybersecurity in the healthcare industry. The acceleration of digital transformation is truly here. And we've seen the mass adoption of telecommunicating, which in my opinion has been one of the most explosive changes to really occur due to this overall COVID-19 pandemic. And as we see, this crisis has fully displayed the value of information technology, cybersecurity, and digital transformation. Because as we all know, healthcare organizations are now really focusing and intensifying their focus on a strategic plan, for a digital future and truly preparing themselves to be ready to launch new initiatives when this crisis passes. I think really learning from COVID-19, if we can truly take the experience gained from this unique challenge, we can truly evolve our practices and continue to invest in digital transformation, which is such a critical component. Because when we've looked at healthcare as a whole, healthcare has been one of those specific industries that have not been moving forward with technology advancements. When we see the finance industry, when we see the e-commerce industry, when we even see the natural and gas industry, we see these specific industries several years more advanced when it comes to technology advancements. But healthcare is starting to move forward. But again, I've always stated that we as the healthcare industry, we should basically be leading the way when it comes to digital transformation, digital initiatives, because I always state that hospitals and clinics are digital companies that happen to deliver healthcare services. We are truly living in the digital age of healthcare. And as I stated, this overall pandemic has really awakened the healthcare industry. And I actually did a topic on COVID-19 may have just saved the US healthcare industry itself, because we're seeing this mass adoption and the acceleration of digital transformation. But again, when we look at the curve of where the healthcare industry basically has been, they're really starting to move forward in regards to the digital transformation and the acceleration of digital transformation, which is such a critical component. But again, I think with any acceleration, especially the focus of digital transformation, we start getting into what we like to call the attacks of opportunity. That is such an actual issue that we're basically faced in the healthcare industry. We know that COVID-19, this crisis, has really forced a lot of organizations across the globe to really experiment massively with having their employees working from home. And it's really pushing organizations to accelerate the pace of digital transformation again. And the healthcare industry has had that massive push of, hey, we now have to send our people home. Well, have we focused on our organization? Do we have the digital backbone in order to do that successfully? That became a massive problem within this specific industry itself, is again, not incorporating information technology and cybersecurity as a core component has really been a problem in this actual industry itself. People ask me, well, how do we, as a potential business partner, how do we focus on getting your business moving forward? And when I speak to the board of directors, I always like focusing on what I call FOR, which is finance, operation, and reputation. When we look at healthcare and when we look at cybersecurity as a whole, what is our number one most weakest element within the organization? That is our employees. If we looked at last year's numbers, 91% of all ransomware attacks that were targeted towards healthcare came through a phishing email. Who are they phishing? They're phishing our people because they know how vulnerable our individuals are, and they know how weak cybersecurity culture and technology involvement is in the healthcare industry. This is truly, ladies and gentlemen, a disservice that we have basically done, and we need to remove this overall aspect within the healthcare industry itself and all industries, because we are now a digital company, as I stated. And then another issue is that human firewall, that culture of understanding what is a cybersecurity. And again, what can happen on a cybersecurity breach element on a financial level? What can happen if we were breached on an operational level? And what can happen if we were breached on a reputational level? Those are specific, strong elements that need to be incorporated into your overall culture of understanding. Speaking with the board of directors on the importance that digital transformation and cybersecurity basically bring into your organization is such a critical component. There is basically an actual, just some specific percentages that were out there that I'd like to present in regards to this. And it really shocked me because they stated that 83% of healthcare systems are still running an outdated software and unsupported operating system, such as Windows 7. And again, leaving devices vulnerable to hackers, actively exploiting the coronavirus. That became an actual massive issue. But when we talk to this industry as a whole, and when we go back to patch management, we always talk about patch management, patch. But we continue to see a high percentage of outdated systems in the healthcare industry still being an actual issue. Why is that? Because we are not incorporating cybersecurity and IT as a core component to the overall organizational strategy. So they've stated that today, 16% of imaging systems are at a 51% risk of getting hacked. And there is a 26% chance that 14% of patient monitoring tools will be attacked, and that 27% of medical devices are still running Windows XP or decommissioned versions of Linux operating system. And the number of stolen medical records has increased by 65%, impacting 40 million Americans. Again, ladies and gentlemen, that percentage is definitely a high percentage. And we need to get away from this overall issue. This is a basic element that needs to be handled consistently. Patch management is such an important aspect. And again, when we do talk about medical devices, yes, we know that the medical device industry basically has an actual problem. We know the medical device industry is basically mandated by the FDA. We know, and they've admitted that 83% of their overall organizations do have a cybersecurity problem. I mean, look, for example, at the pacemaker software alone. I mean, there was 5,000 security flaws associated with it. That is a problem, ladies and gentlemen. And then when we ask ourselves, well, okay, well, you're saying that medical records are being compromised. So why do criminals want these actual medical records when we look at it? Medical records, again, as you know, the electronic medical record contains an extensive amount of data from the person's full name, address, contact information, social security, insurance detail, the name of the treating physician, diagnosis, prescriptions, treatment, and more. And see, what happens is once this information has been stolen, it can be resold over and over again, which is why healthcare information is so valuable and at the same time so dangerous as well. And that becomes an issue, focusing on those specific elements. But again, ladies and gentlemen, I've kind of had an overall view of what we're seeing on some of the trends here. We see problems with organizations not building a strong human firewall, and that focuses on culture. We're seeing the mass rise of the acceleration of digital transformation. We're seeing the mass rise of the attacks of opportunity. We're continuing to see issues with outdated software, outdated devices. This is becoming an actual problem as well. And then again, going back a little in talking about the overall culture, that human firewall, I think that's a core component as well, and an overall strong foundation that needs to be established within the organization. Because establishing a strong cybersecurity culture advocates the need that everyone, including executive leadership and management, has an equal part in cybersecurity, because it's not only an IT responsibility, but an overall organizational responsibility. Securing information and systems that support the healthcare organization involves much more than technology. And again, it's often mistakenly viewed as only the information security organization's responsibility. That, again, ladies and gentlemen, is a misconception. This is an item that has to be incorporated into the entire organization. Culture has to be focused on what is cybersecurity. How do we as an organization continue to invest in companies like your group? Invest in startups coming in that could be potential strong business partners. That, again, is focusing on that culture of understanding what would happen, again, on a financial level if we received a breach. What would happen on an operational level? And what would happen on a reputational level? Because cybersecurity isn't about data security. It is truly also a matter of life and death. We need to continue to change the culture, improve patient care, and really make life-saving differences, which is such an important aspect moving forward. And we know that technology is just one part of security. And we know that although the information technology services plays a critical role, again, the reality is the entire organization needs to be engaged to help reduce cybersecurity risks. Because as I stated, look at last year's numbers. 91% of all targeted ransomware attacks came through a phishing email, because these attackers know how weak the overall culture and understanding of what cybersecurity really is in the healthcare industry. And then we've seen issues recently. I mean, we've seen UHS, having a massive problem, and supposedly, potentially the largest in U.S. history, the largest attack in U.S. history. We know the healthcare industry is being attacked left and right. It is such a critical component that we continue to focus on cybersecurity, digital transformation, and incorporate IT as a core component to the overall organizational strategy. Because again, when we look at investments, IT has always been considered what? An actual cost center, right? That is a problem, ladies and gentlemen. Information technology, cybersecurity, those specific elements are profit centers. That's a critical component. IT needs to be a profit center. So again, that goes and it incorporates the understanding of changing the culture. I did an actual course at Columbia University that was basically discussing the brick and mortar mentality versus a digital transformation initiative mentality. And that becomes an actual problem. We see a lot of the Gen X's still coming in place, really not having a lot of digital transformation initiatives, looking at the importance of IT, just this massive landscape of change. But as I stated in my comment, hospitals, clinics are digital companies that happen to deliver healthcare services. We are truly living in the digital age of healthcare. And we as an organization need to act as a digital company because that's what we are. And again, I always state to organizations is your house in order? Are you taking full responsibility and accountability on the actions and the technology perspectives and initiatives that you're basically putting into this organization? That is such an important thing, ladies and gentlemen, is get your house in order. There has to be several building blocks in order to create that strong foundation. And that's like anything. When building a home, you must have that strong foundation in place in order to basically create strong digital transformation initiatives. And again, working with startups is such a phenomenal thing. You know, we've done a lot with different startups. You know, we currently utilize artificial intelligence and predictive analytics, and we look at different types of abnormalities within our network environment to basically predict an attack before it happens. You know, and this is such a critical component. And I think, you know, with some of these groups that are basically presenting, you have a lot of great opportunities because in my professional opinion is healthcare organizations truly, again, need these startups, these innovative individuals to come in and disrupt this overall industry. We need a massive disruption. And again, COVID-19 was a massive disruption, but we need more of a digital revolution to basically happen within our overall industry itself. And looking at, you know, having that full visibility of assets, you know, is really important, you know, because it allows you to develop an actual plan to ensure mitigation of risk within the environment. Because one of my critical components is we basically worked with a startup that I needed to determine how many specific Internet of Things do we basically have in place? Because at times, the Internet of Things market has been one of those markets that have really been driving cybersecurity initiatives and business opportunities. And when I say that is because, I mean, look at, for example, some of the problems that we were looking at. 83% of healthcare systems are running on outdated software. We're continuing to see that medical devices aren't receiving the proper patch management. And these are specific devices that are being attached to human beings, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why I always state that cybersecurity isn't just about data security. It is truly a matter of life and death. And it is extremely important to make sure that we do have that Hawkeye view within our entire organization moving forward, because that's really going to make a life-saving difference. And this has been one of those items, you know, to really kind of end it out a little, is as we know that, again, COVID-19, the COVID-19 crisis has fully displayed the value of information technology, cybersecurity, and digital transformation. And we know that the IT teams, the technology teams, the clinicians, the frontline workers have been through a lot. And again, if you are a leader within your organization, they need your support and leadership. Because in my opinion, a true leader, as a true leader, our first focus should be to take care of our people. Because when we focus on people, process, then technology, and incorporate those technology core components to the overall organizational strategy, this will take us to a much better place. You know, there's a Spanish word. I'm a Latinx, so there's a Spanish word that I'd like to include, which is adelante, which means forward. Let us move adelante and together to truly transform our industry. We need these startups more than ever, because yo creo en nosotros, which means I believe in us. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. You know, it was a real quick 20 minutes of discussion and just kind of a quick landscape of where it goes from building that strong foundation, of building that strong culture, focusing on the finances, the operations, and the reputation of the organization, incorporating information technology as a core component, utilizing startups, innovation coming into healthcare is such a critical component, because we can truly change our industry moving forward. So again, thank you very much, and congratulate, you know, to all the startups on your new business venture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Those are great words, and I really appreciate your enthusiasm. Talking about that cybersecurity is really a matter of life or death, especially in a hospital setting. Michael, can you maybe talk about what, like a tangible first step? I know there's so much that we could be doing, but maybe something like a takeaway. How do you start the process internally? How do you get that support from your leaders to really have recognized? Obviously, it is a real problem, as you know, as you pointed out, 91% of these ransomware attacks come through phishing schemes that are targeted to the employees of a hospital. How do you get that information to the employees? How do you let them know, you know, in a way not to be clicking on stuff, or maybe a real tangible first step that people can walk away with today?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we started seeing a lot of trends when it was coming to phishing tests, we started designing simulated phishing test campaigns within our organization. So we created a program called Clickers Anonymous, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. So we sent out phishing tests throughout the entire organization. And if you were considered an actual clicker, you were verified, and you ran through a mandatory employee educational process that basically brought the basic fundamentals of cybersecurity, which is such an important aspect, and understanding what could happen on a breach level if you did click on this, outlining, you know, specific items to not click on, to be due diligent of, you know, stop, look, and think before you actually click. And, you know, it's really important too of, you know, we need to, again, as healthcare organizations, we need to continue to basically implement intelligent security, you know, technologies, and again, create strong cybersecurity awareness programs and build those teams that collaborate in helping to change the culture of the organization. Because this approach will allow you to build your human firewall, which is one of the most critical elements in building a successful cybersecurity strategy.
Great. Thank you so much. Those are great words. And again, a takeaway. And if anybody'd like to get in touch with Michael, please reach out. We'll give you his contact information. But as Michael so eloquently teed up, we're ready to meet our startups.